Hello, Mary Mead. So I just wanted to make a video about something that has been discussed a lot within various Gothic forums I'm on lately, and that is what's the difference between Goth and Emo. Now this video isn't going to go into enormous amount of details of these two lifestyles because really a YouTube video cannot sum up an entire lifestyle, much less two. I have kitty hairs in my mouth for some reason. So yeah. Now let me first start by saying I think it's a real shame how many goths treat emos. Because really, a lot of goths treat emos just as we are treated by the rest of society. By scorn, by being told that we're just gonna grow right out of it, and so on and so forth, and then we turn right around and treat emos with the same disdain, and that's wrong. So I am not going to bash emos in this video, nor do I think it's the ultimate insult to be taken for an emo. Now, granted, I never have, probably because I'm too old. When somebody sees somebody dressed alternatively, and they do not appear to be a teenager, most will assume they are goth. So let's get into this. Now, a lot of people say, yeah, but goths and emos, they just look the same. And yeah, some styles of both do look the same. And now we're talking about the clothing styles, not the deeper meaning here, but the fashion styles. So yeah, some look the same. And that is because both of the current styles, if you will, originate within punk. And as such, a emo dressing more punkish and a goth leaning towards punk in his or her attire, they will look somewhat similar. So yeah, when you see somebody with a black t-shirt, a spike collar, a nose ring, and all of those also stereotypical elements, perhaps an anchor around their neck, and a scholar too, it's not that easy to just at a glance say, you're goth, you're emo, and you're a punk. It's not, because a lot of these styles, when we come to the clothing styles, mingle together. Now there are definitely elements within emo fashion that are not connected to goth. For example, this, I don't think I can even do it. The side slide, you know, that's when the bangs go gracefully to the side, and so on and so forth. And those, you know, when they pleated that square pattern pants and a few of those things, which emo have more in common with hipsters and such than goth. And there are definitely things within goth that are not picked up by emos. For example, those that lean towards the Victorian type of things are generally not. But if you look at the just stereotypical image of a goth and the just stereotypical image of an emo, they're not too different in just the appearance. However, where there are a real difference is when you look below that. A lot of people say, no, emo is just a clothing style, goth is a lifestyle. Well, no, emo is also a lifestyle. And I really don't have the numbers if it's more people who dress gothic that have it just as a fashion, or more people that dress emo that has it just as a fashion. I don't have the numbers on that. But there's definitely a lot of emos who live it as a lifestyle. So one should not be so judgmental there. However, if you look below, if you look past the clothing and such, because really fashion isn't my thing, so let's just move beyond that. If you look at what these lifestyles, what these philosophies means, there's a very stark difference. So here's the thing. Now, I have many times said, and several times in these videos, said that goth is not just about music, as some people claim. Some people claim that, no, if you don't listen to the goth music of the 80s, then you can't be goth, because that's what goth is. It's just about the music. And it's not. However, the current lifestyle as it is comes from a music trend. Basically, do you believe that it's only been in the last 30 years or so that there have been people who have a darker view of the world, who has basically, what shall we say, a darkly poetic soul? No, you can look at various points in history, for example, the people collected around Lord Byron and so on. But the current incarnation of what we call goth comes from punk music, who then evolved with inspiration from horror, from the Victorian Gothic novels, from Gothic architecture, had those influences, and that then became goth. Then around the same time, you had also punk music, who then were very much inspired by emotions, by teen revolt, all of those things, and a lot of that evolved into emotional hardcore, or emo-core, that emo takes its name from. So you can say that as such, goth and emo are like branches that share the same tree, but where the branches has developed into very different directions. Now, at the core of goth, and yes, this is my opinion, if you have a different definition, then go ahead, but for me, at the core of goth is an appreciation of the beauty that you can find within darkness. It's when a normal person go and I see a tombstone for a couple, they might think, oh, so sad. While a goth will think, oh, so romantic, they are together forever. And those things, as well as need for individuality, and a general wonder about the world, goths, generally speaking, feel they want a world with more of the wonder in it, and look at the world with more wondrous eyes. And mix that with an appreciation for the dark. And then I'm not talking about dark as in evil, but more as the darkness as a contrast to see light. And that is that's the core of the Gorian. Why did Gorians enter into this? I have been talking too much with the goth lifestyle. Anyway, that's a point of goth. Emo, and I am on a lot more shaky ground here since I'm not an emo myself, and my information comes mostly from the few I'm talking to and some research. The core of it is about emotions. And in a way, you can say that is similar to the sense of wonder and the sense of seeing the beauty of within darkness that you find within goth, but it takes another direction. It is more, you set emotions in the center and basically live those emotions completely. And it's about, I hate to say this because it sounds so stereotypical, but it's very much about the angst. not completely, but a lot of that music is about teen angst. That's if you're going to look at it completely objectively, that's what it is. So it's very much two different ways of looking at things. So even if the styles can look somewhat on the surface, when you look at just the fashion, it can look very similar. The philosophies, the ideas, the way you look at life is very different. Or rather, when you meet a goth in the bathtub without his or her get-up and jewelry and dark clothes, just as themselves, that will be a very different person than if you meet a emo in the same situation. So the similarities are there, but they are mostly on the surface, because while both have that joint joint past of, excuse me, my phone. Yes, Baron Harkonnen. I am big fan of Dune, unless you didn't notice. Anyway, they have that joint parentage of the punk. It has gone into two very different directions. I guess you can look at it as languages coming from the same language group. So, for example, English and Spanish and French and my native Norwegian all comes from the same Indo-European group. They all have some similarities because they come from the same language family. But they have developed in very different ways, so that they're definitely not the same language, but there are some words here and there that are very similar. And if I wrote you an instruction manual in Norwegian, and you are an English-speaking person watching this, chances are you would pick up some words. The same I don't speak French, but when I get those instruction manuals and I read the French section, I pick up enough words to get the gist of it. But they are very different languages in their own right, even if they come from that shared background. And it's the same thing with Emo and Goth. They have some shared elements because they do both come from punk, but they have developed and continue to develop in very much different directions. So yeah, I hope you... I should address one more thing, and that is the, you're going to grow out of it thing. Now, I don't say this to somebody ever. But, yeah, I have never met an emo that are out of their mid-20s. And I can't think of any emos that I know that are not teenagers. And by that I don't mean that you should say, they're just gonna grow out of it. Because if somebody wants to stay emo until they're 100, enjoy! But emo definitely are much more of a youth culture than goth. There's far more goths who stay goth their entire life than there are emos. And that doesn't really have to do with the emos being a less valuable lifestyle. I definitely think there's a lot of value in emo. But I think in many ways it's the music, the fashions, the philosophies, all of that have a tendency to speak more to the young than to somebody who has survive those dreaded teenage years. And yeah, I know I sound like an old hag saying that, but yeah, that's it. But yeah, like I said, I don't think you should look down on emos. I certainly don't. I don't see how they do any harm. And if somebody should ask me if I'm emo, I would say, no, I identify more as a goth. End of story. I don't see the least reason for a big drama around that. But yeah, I hope this video have explained some of the differences between emo and goth. And I hope you have a great day, and blessed be.